Okay, so you're a Nazi soldier stationed on the Eastern Front. It's the middle of the night, you're half asleep, freezing your boots off when suddenly you hear a faint swooshing sound, like a broomstick cutting through the air. You look up, nothing. No engines, no lights, no mercy. And then your camp is on fire. You're under attack again. And the worst part? You were just bombed by girls in plywood planes who were barely out of school. This is not a joke. This really happened. Welcome to the story of the Night Witches, the deadliest group of female pilots in World War II you've probably never heard of. Before we climb into this Soviet biplane of madness, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss more jaw-dropping stories like this one. The year is 1941. Hitler has just launched Operation Barbarossa, the biggest invasion in military history. Millions of German troops are storming the Soviet Union, and things aren't going well for the Red Army. Now let's talk about Marina Raskova, a Soviet aviation legend often called the Soviet Amelia Earhart. She'd already made history flying across Russia's vast wilderness, but now she had a bigger mission. She persuaded Joseph Stalin himself to let her form all-female Air Force units. And Stalin surprisingly said yes. Why did he agree to it? Because the Red Army was getting desperate. They needed every pilot they could get. And Marina really delivered. In 1942, she formed 3 all-female aviation regiments, but one of them would go down in history for its sheer guts: the 588th Night Bomber Regiment. These women weren't flying fancy fighter jets. Oh no, they were given Polikarpov PO-2s, wooden biplanes that were basically held together with glue and curses. No radio, no radar, no weapons except for small bombs strapped under the wings. Top speed? About 90 miles per hour. That's slower than a modern scooter. These planes were originally used as crop dusters. So of course the Soviet High Command thought, let's bomb the Nazis with them. Now here's where it gets fun. Or terrifying if you're a Nazi. These women flew only at night. Often 8 to 18 missions per night, dodging bullets and flak with nothing but paper maps and pure guts. The key to their success was stealth. See, those old PO-2s were so slow and quiet, they actually became invisible to German radar. And just before dropping their bombs, the pilots would kill their engines mid-air and glide in total silence over enemy lines. That eerie swooshing sound? That's what German soldiers would hear right before the bombs dropped. It sounded so much like a witch's broomstick the Germans started calling them Nachthexen, night witches. Some Nazi troops were so spooked they reportedly refused to light cigarettes at night, afraid the witches would spot them from the sky. No kidding. If the Nazis had a most feared enemies list, these teenage girls in flying coffins made the top 10. Let's be real. Flying those missions wasn't just daring, it was borderline suicidal. The cockpits were completely open, meaning they flew in freezing cold, wearing multiple layers, sometimes getting frostbite mid-flight. They had no parachutes for the planes in the early years because the planes were so low and slow, if you jumped, you were probably already toast. Navigating at night, in the dark, over enemy territory with no GPS, no lights, no radio contact, just compass, stopwatch, and sheer instinct. If you made a mistake, you were either gunned down by anti-aircraft fire, or crashed into a forest. And they kept doing it, night after night. One pilot, Yevdokia Bershanskaya, oversaw over 1,000 missions. Others flew until their hands were literally stuck to the controls from frost. These weren't background characters in history, they were hardcore warriors. So did they succeed? Short answer, yes they did. The Night Witches dropped over 23,000 tons of bombs on German supply lines, encampments, bridges, and railway depots. Some reports say that soldiers who shot one down would be awarded the prestigious Iron Cross. But it was easier said than done. Those slow, creaky biplanes could turn on a dime and fly so low they could sometimes outmaneuver German fighters. And they just kept coming. Like ghosts. Angry Soviet, revenge-seeking ghosts. By the end of the war, 30 of these women died in combat, and 23 were awarded the Hero of the Soviet Union, the nation's highest honor. One pilot, Nadezhda Popova, survived getting shot down multiple times and kept flying. When asked why she flew, she said, "I wanted to hit back. I was so angry." You'd think these women would come home as national heroes, right? Well, kind of. The Soviet Union buried much of their legacy post-war. The Cold War and back to domestic life pressures erased many of their stories from textbooks. But in recent decades, their legacy's been rediscovered. Today, the Night Witches are finally getting the recognition they deserve. Books, documentaries, monuments. Even the modern Russian Air Force has honored them. Because these weren't just pilots. They were underdogs who rewrote the rules of war. In plywood planes. With zero chill. So next time you hear someone say war is a man's game, tell them about the night witches, who flew without parachutes, glided through gunfire, and scared hardened Nazis out of their boots. Not bad for a bunch of girls in crop dusters, huh? If you love this story, smash that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. Who's your favorite underrated figure from history? And don't forget to hit that notification bell. We've got more jaw-dropping stories where this came from.